Hello YouTube, welcome back. This is just going to be a quick little video, quick little follow-up on the solar charger that we created for our lawnmower, our little robotic lawnmower here. Just to go through some things that we missed on the first one in terms of its capacity for battery and how well it charges the lawnmower. Just before we start off, it is 9 o'clock in the morning. The lawnmower has a schedule to start at midday at 12 o'clock and finish at 1 o'clock, and it does that every single day. So we'll show you guys what it's at right now, and then we'll come back after it does its mow for an hour. We'll see what the percentage of its battery is, and we'll see how long it takes it to charge that battery. I want to show you guys the solar panel, if you can see it up there. When we showed the video for the solar charger, we had it laying flat on top of the roof, and people in chat told me the orientation wasn't correct, and then in the comments, sorry. And I looked it up on Google, and Google says that because Australia is in the southeast hemisphere, we have to face it north, and we have to have it between a 30 and 45 degree angle. So I created a couple of little brackets made out of wood, and I've got it facing up there. We're here in the shed. I just want to quickly show you guys. It is 9 o'clock, so the sun isn't fully out. It's still quite low, but it's still quite bright. There's no clouds in the way. There you can see the voltage in AC, alternating currents. Okay, so that says amperage for alternating currents. Let's see if it gets us a reading on that. Does that get a reading? 3 amps, I think it said. Just to show you, that's not going to mean very much to a lot of you if you guys were the beginners that the original video was intended for. That's not going to mean very much, but I know some people like the nitty-gritty details. Let's open up the junction box. The other thing that I'm going to show is the temperature of this now, and then later on when it's actually proper charging, when it gets a little bit warmer. It's going to be a bit of a cold day actually, but the first thing I'm going to show you is just down below. The lawnmower switched off, and that would have happened overnight when the sun wasn't out and it's on using its standby consumption. I'm going to talk about that at the end of the video, but that's probably the only flaw that this setup has. Let me show you the battery. People wanted to see. You can see here it's a 20 volt battery, and it says it's 4 amp hours. 18 volt, 4 amp hours. 72 watt hours. So that's the size of that. And this 4 amp hour battery, which is 18 volts, needs to get charged by our 12 amp hour 12 volt battery. Now, again, we spoke about this a lot in the previous videos. Even though it's 12 amp hours, because it's lead acid battery, we can only use half of it, and so really we only have 6 amp hours. But I have found that when this is fully charged, even if it's very cloudy, this is enough to charge the lawnmower. Especially because I have a small lawn, it doesn't use up its full capacity just to do a run, and so this easily charges it. And then the solar can just continue charging this, even if it's just trickle charging. The last thing that I wanted to show was a temperature reading of the inverter before it starts to charge it under load. Because right now it's already charged, but once it starts charging, so this is in Celsius, it's currently 31.8 Celsius. And if we switch it to Fahrenheit for our American friends, 89.2. So you'll see how that heats up. It's just come back to charge. It's 1 o'clock now. I believe that says 61%. So there's a little bit of a glare. You can see it charging now, 63%, just as we're speaking. I'm going to take note of the time, and then we will come back when it's fully charged, and we'll see when it finishes. I might even leave it recording. I'll be back. We're sitting on 73%, and it's been about 5 minutes. It started off at 61%, and it was climbing really, really quickly, and now it's on 73%. The weather was really bright and sunny in the morning when I said hello to you guys, and then it very quickly got dark and cloudy, and it started raining for a bit. So I didn't think that a lawnmower was going to go out because it doesn't have a rain sensor. But then that cleared up, and the grass wasn't too wet, so I just let it go out because I wanted the YouTube video. And there is clouds in the sky right now, so it's a pretty good demonstration, because even though you guys can probably see it's quite bright. Oh, it's very zoomed in, sorry. Even though it's very bright at the moment, it is very cloudy. So right now, the solar panel probably isn't receiving very many, probably isn't producing very many volts, but there's still the charge that it would have trickle charged inside of the junction box. So that's probably the majority of what's currently charging this, while it still draws as much as it can, even though it's quite cloudy. Wow, it literally jumped up to 75 while I was talking. I'm going to stop the camera here, and then we're going to come back when it's 100%. It's going to slow down as it gets closer to 100%. Batteries... It's been about 25 minutes since it started charging. I went inside and I was watching a little bit of YouTube, lost track of time, came back, and it's already 100%. So I can't say it takes 25 minutes to fill up, but it is 25 minutes since it started charging, thereabouts, and it is completely full. Okay, let me open up the junction box and let's see how hot the inverter is. It's about 99 Fahrenheit. And 36 Celsius. I have seen it go up to about 41 Celsius. So today is actually quite a cold day, and I think that has something to do with it not getting that hot. But still, I think at 41 degrees, it doesn't get that hot. And 41 is the hottest I've witnessed it on quite a hot day. It was like 36 to 38 degrees Celsius that day. And so that's probably the biggest contributor. So if you were curious about how hot the inverter gets, that should solve that mystery. Just to leave you guys off, I want to talk about the one downside to this system, which is caused by that battery. That 12-hour lead-acid battery, which we can only use half of it, so we can only use 6 hours, 6 amp hours. Once the sun goes down at night, this has a standby consumption. It also, if there's a rip, for instance, in the boundary wire, it immediately alerts you on the phone. So that also means that there's some form of current going through the boundary wire. I'm not sure how much that is, but it's also part of the standby consumption. And so with a full battery, I've witnessed it. I've gotten a couple of alerts, usually at around 5 o'clock in the morning, telling me that the boundary wire has disconnected. And so that tells me that it doesn't have any more current to send to the boundary wire. And this will automatically shut itself off 20 minutes after it stops receiving power. So if at around 5 o'clock in the morning, that battery dies and there's no more power to keep this on standby, it'll shut itself off. And when the sun comes up, most machines, like my robot vacuum inside my house, will switch itself back on when it senses electricity. This one does not seem to have that feature. Maybe there's a firmware update that can solve that, and you can let it turn itself on when it receives power. But I think it's probably something that was done on purpose, because this is meant to be outdoors, and there's a pin attached to it, like a security feature. So if somebody steals it, they can't use it. So making it turn itself on when it receives current, I think would work against that security feature, and that's probably why it doesn't do it. But because it doesn't turn itself on when it receives power, and the battery, that small little battery that we have on the wall, doesn't have enough juice to power this overnight on standby mode, that means that if you want this to turn itself on during the schedule, then at some point in the morning, maybe if you're hanging up clothes, or if you have some reason to come out into the backyard for whatever reason, I usually do. I always come out in the morning. Sometimes it's to hang out clothes. Sometimes it's just to water my plants or my flowers. All you got to do is just switch it on, put your pin in, and then just leave it be. It'll turn itself on and it'll turn itself off, and that still works perfectly fine. I think in terms of the solar charger works perfect. You could see how fast it charged the mower. Less than half an hour, it was 100%. I'm not going to compare it to how well it would charge in the wall outlet, because I don't see a point. This charged it in less than half an hour. That's good enough. There's no really, like, even if the wall charges it in 20 minutes, you're not going to really find the faults in this for that. But a solution to the standby consumption would be to just get a second one of these batteries. You could put the inverter a little bit more to the right and this battery a bit more to the left, and fit a second battery there, or you could have the second battery on the floor and just raise this up a little bit. And you would have to plug it in parallel, which means the two positives from the batteries would have to be connected to each other, and two negatives. And so that way you could get a higher amp hour. So if you just bought another one of these ones and connected it in parallel, instead of having 12 amp hours, you would have 24 amp hours. Again, you'd still have to use half of it, but at least that would give you 12 amp hours. And if this one here turns itself off at 5 o'clock, you can pretty much be guaranteed that doubling that capacity will solve the issue. But I am actually going to, because in the initial video where I created this, I talked about the benefits of lithium-ion batteries. I am going to do a video in the future. I bought a really cheap Chinese lithium-ion battery, and so in the future I will be having a video come out where I'm going to change out the solar charge controller for one that supports lithium-ion batteries. I'm going to change out the battery to a lithium-ion, and I'm going to change out the inverter to a pure sine wave, and we're going to get rid of the low voltage cutoff. So if you want to watch that, tune in. Feel free to subscribe if you want to get notifications, turn on the bell. And if you want to see how we created this, I'll have a link in the descriptions for the video where I showed you how I created it and how I chose these items on Amazon and why we chose them. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you all later when I update this system to a lithium system, and then after that I will do a review of the lawnmower. But I'm gonna get a few things just to change this setup over here. I'll see you all later. Bye bye.